Remember the smell of popcorn and sawdust? That electric thrill when the lights dimmed and the ringmaster took center stage? The circus was magic, a breathtaking, heart-stopping spectacle that promised the impossible. But sometimes the line between spectacular and terrifying blurred, and what audiences cheered for was a genuine roll of the dice. Today, at RetroNest, we're pulling back the velvet curtain to look at the 10 most dangerous circus acts that history and common sense eventually retired. Get ready to gasp. 10. The Human Cannonball. Imagine getting paid to be a projectile. The Human Cannonball didn't use a net. That was the whole point. Launched by springs or pressurized air, the performer had to hit a precise target, often a small net only a few feet wide. It started small with the great Zazel in 1877, but as cannons got bigger, so did the danger. A slight miscalculation, a puff of wind, or a simple faulty spring meant a hard, final landing. It's a miracle anyone survived to tell the tale, which is why you see it less today. 9. Iron Jaw, or the hanging stunt. This was a favorite for the queens of the air, often beautiful women in sequined costumes. They would hang by their teeth from a wire, sometimes spinning or supporting another person. The entire act relied on the performer's incredible jaw and neck strength, but it was brutal on the spine and teeth. People would faint just watching it. The long-term damage and terrible accidents caused when a performer's grip, or the strap, finally failed put this classic on the endangered list. 8. The Ladder of Death. A simple name for a terrifying feat. This was a long, unbraced ladder that the performer would climb, often doing handstands on the rungs as they went higher and higher. The wind, the sway, the instability. It was all part of the suspense. The height alone made it deadly, with no safety ropes to spoil the drama. When one of the great performers, like the great little Rocco, fell, it reminded everyone how quickly a quiet crowd could turn into a scene of panic. 7. Equestrian vaulting, acrobats on horseback, were a staple of the early circus. Known as voltige, the performer would leap, tumble, and balance on the back of a galloping steed. It wasn't just about athletic skill, it was about perfectly timing every jump with a powerful, unpredictable animal. One wrong step by the horse, or a fraction of a second too early on the dismount, meant being trampled. The constant fear of a broken leg, or worse, was simply a cost of doing business back then. 6. The Slide for Life. This was a dazzling finale, popular with high-wire artists like the great Walendas. The performer would hook a small wooden pulley to a steeply angled wire and slide down at terrifying speed, sometimes with fireworks trailing behind them. Imagine the friction, the speed, and the heat. If the wire snapped or the performer's grip slipped, they'd be a blur heading for the dirt. It was too reckless, even for the thrill-seeking audiences of the 1920s. 5. The Lion Taming Chair. Everyone knows the image, the master, the whip, the magnificent beast. Lion and tiger taming was the heart of the thrill. The danger was raw and real. You were in a cage with a predator. While trainers loved the drama of the tiny chair, the accidents were grim and often public. As we learned more about animal welfare and recognized the inherent danger to the trainers, the acts became more about showing off the animal's natural talent, not forcing them into submission. 4. The triple back somersault, without a net. Trapeze is stunning, but the triple somersault is the holy grail. 3 full rotations in the air before being caught by the catcher. If the smallest thing was off, a hand slip, a missed count, it resulted in a deadly fall. The early circus, focused on proving its daring, often did away with the safety net. The legendary Codonas family made the triple famous, but the incredible stakes were simply too high to keep tempting fate for every performance. 3. The Globe of Death. This one is pure speed and physics. Multiple motorcyclists ride inside a steel mesh sphere, crossing paths at terrifying speeds. The danger comes from the sheer impossibility of the timing. One slight wobble, one misjudgment of speed or angle, and the resulting pile-up is a catastrophic mess of metal and bodies. While it's still performed today, the risk is so high that it's heavily regulated, a far cry from the wild, reckless days of its invention. 2. The Dives of Death. Forget the highboard at the local pool. These were dizzying plunges. The great little Abel would dive from 100 feet or more into a tiny tank of water, or sometimes a pad of mattresses and netting. The impact could still shatter bones, even with a perfect landing. It was a terrifying spectacle that relied on physics, courage, and a whole lot of prayer. Eventually, the medical costs and the sheer improbability of survival made it simply too dark to keep showing. 1. The Human Torch. And here is the act that truly crossed a line. The Human Torch, sometimes called the Salamander Act, saw a performer coat themselves in a special paste and then set themselves on fire, standing or sometimes walking for a short period. It was horrific to watch, a primal scream of danger. The chemical cocktail was often toxic, and the risk of third-degree burns was a guarantee, not a possibility. As medicine advanced and our tolerance for such extreme suffering lessened, this act thankfully burned itself out of the circus entirely. The circus was a mirror of our desires, to be thrilled, to be amazed, and to believe that a little bit of magic still exists. These dangerous acts, though gone, tell a story of incredible courage, and the limits will push for a gasp from the crowd. We're glad they're mostly confined to the history books, but the bravery lives on. What was the most amazing, terrifying circus act you ever saw? Let us know in the comments below. If you felt a little nostalgic with us today, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to RetroNest. We've got plenty more stories to share from the archives of history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.